Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, February the 28th. Deputy Director Davis, this is the last day of February. Ms. Turner, this is the last day of Black History Month. So we are here at the Assembly Hall at 901 Main Street. And Director Pete, we're still in the heart of Old Town Conyers. Absolutely. So we're calling our meeting to order this morning, and we will have the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by our good friend, Pastor Carolyn Thomas from Miracles of Faith. Pastor Thomas, hadn't seen you in a month of Sundays. Come on up. So glad to see you. Happy New Year and all that good stuff. Absolutely. Come on up and lead us in invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen. Let us bow our heads as we go before the throne of grace and we continue in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, dear gracious and mighty Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you, God, that you've kept us, oh Lord, and you've kept us, Lord God, with our feet standing firmly in the presence and the places where you would have us to be. God, we just lift up Rockdale County to you as we continue to pray for the leaders of this county. We come before you, Lord, because we know that the authorities that be are ordained of you according to your word. Lord, we ask that you would continue to endow the leaders of this county with your wisdom and the objectivity to carry out their daily responsibilities as we interact one with another on behalf of the citizens, the business partners, on behalf of those that would come into this county and to seek, oh Lord, the demonstrations, those things, Lord, that you have set here to be a model for the rest of the state, for the rest of the nation. Father, we thank you now that you would grant the leaders of this county the ability to do what is right on behalf of all people for the greater good. As we lift up these proceedings that's about to take place, we thank you for the objectivity, and we thank you for the wisdom, and we thank you for the ability for all to come together with like hearts and like minds for the greater good. And we continue to lift up Commissioner Nesbitt to you, Father. We pray for those that continue to lift up his arms and to operate on behalf of the county. We pray for his insight, your continual wisdom and insight in him, that he be able to operate in the objectivity that you operate in, and for the good and the justification and the justice of all people at all times. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Thomas. Commissioners, I just want to add that Pastor Thomas, I really kind of describe her as a quiet storm. You know, some folks, when they do things for you, they want to make a whole lot of noise and draw a lot of attention. Well, Pastor Thomas has a history of working quietly behind the scenes to get things done. She has helped countless numbers of families and people in this community. She's been an immediate resource for us through the years. I've been able to call on her on multiple occasions to discreetly help out folks who were in need or point them in the right direction. And sometimes it's so important that when you do something for somebody, you don't make no noise about it. And then the biggest thing I have to add is that Deputy Director Jameson, Pastor Thomas knows how to make sure that she helped people maintain their dignity. And that's important because sometimes folks who are in need of something, they don't need the whole world to know what they're going through when they ask or reach out for help. Well, otherwise, Chief McDaniel, they may not even ask for help because if they think you're going to make a big old announcement about it, they may not even. So y'all give Pastor Thomas a round of applause, would you? I often talk about the fact that we have well over 300 churches in this community, but to know that there's just a few people you can call on to get a thing done right without a whole bunch of noise and make sure that they understand the assignment. So I certainly do appreciate you being here, Pastor Thomas. Don't see her a lot, but she's just one call away whenever we need her, and her work has certainly spoken for itself throughout Rockdale County. And she's been on the scene for a long time here doing work behind the scenes, and she supports many other organizations with her ministry as well. So we do appreciate your presence and your kind words this morning, leading us in our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Commissioners, to move forward, this morning we have special recognitions and presentations. I do believe that the Rockdale County Master Transit Plan presentation, none other than our own Director Brian Kelly, and he's sharp as a tack this morning. He's got on one of his favorite ties, Director Holmes. And yes, sir. Director Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I heard Chief Sanders told me that you were bursting with excitement.
Oh, wow. Bursting? We're doing all that?
I know those words were a little colorful, but those words came from the chief. So I'm just repeating what the chief said to me.
With excitement. Continue.
Good morning, Madam Commissioners and Chairman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, first of all, as we continue to try and grow Rockdale Department of Transportation, we've had some unique talent infused. So I want to bring up, as part of this presentation, our traffic engineer. So I'd like to bring up Rebecca Solomon. She comes to us from Sacramento State University, a professional traffic engineer, and she's going to be part of the team that helps us implement projects like this transit development plan and the actual implementation of that plan. So her expertise will be pivotal in that. So what I'd like to do is start out by introducing her. We're very happy to have her here with us today. And she's going to take and start off this presentation for us, and then we'll bring in our extended team to help us close this out.
Welcome aboard, Rebecca. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody. Yes.
Hi, thank you very much. So thank you for the introduction. I am Rebecca Solomon. I, again, come from California, Northern California area. Just a little bit, I won't bore you with details because I just want to give you a little bit of information of the county that I came from was rural, but it also had some touristy areas. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Lake Tahoe. It's on kind of the border of
No one's ever heard of Lake Tahoe.
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect audience for this then. So it's a really good mix of different types of transportation needs. And the reason I bring that up is I'm really excited to bring a transit plan to this county because I think there is a wide variety of needs for potential for transit, whether that looks like a big bus that people ride daily to their place of work or a small van to get to Target on the weekend or whatever that might be, right? So with that, we definitely need input from the community. So I'm excited to get this out into the public's eye and get people to, I hope, be excited about it enough to give their input so we really know what those needs are. So with that, I want to turn it over to our team that's actually been putting all of this information together for us, taking studies from different areas so that we don't have to really recreate the wheel fully and learn from other people's maybe mistakes or maybe achievements, right? So that will be Audra and Chelsea from VHB. They've been our team in putting all this information together. So
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, for having us. I appreciate it very much. I am the PM of this project. I work for VHB, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the technical work we've been doing. While Rebecca's been out on leave, we've been sort of scrabbling and doing a little research, trying to figure out what our existing conditions are, and figuring out about those successes and lessons learned so that we have a place to start from for this project. Next slide, please. Oh, thanks. So we have been working since we last saw you. And like I said, it's been looking at existing and future conditions. What's out there? Where are your people? Who needs transit? Who might like transit? Where are the jobs? Looking at your traffic flows, it's really interesting for a county that's sort of outer ring like this. Not all your traffic's going to Atlanta. You guys in Newton are sort of like hugging each other. It's really interesting.
Yes.
It's like that. I'm like, that's an interesting traffic flow. Maybe that's something that we're going to look at. So right now we're sort of like getting these ideas about what might work for y'all. Another thing that we've been doing is a lot of the technical committee has also been looking at not just existing conditions, but what we called a peer agencies experience memo, which basically said, okay, you guys aren't the only people faced with this conundrum. Transit's been changing a lot. People who had transit systems maybe had a fixed route, but ridership fell off a lot in the pandemic. Buses were the first thing people didn't want to be on. People really got into single family cars. Some of that has rebounded, but a lot of service hasn't, like our big Greta buses, big Serta buses. The express commuter service hasn't come back very much because people in white collar jobs who really are pushing that commute, they have the option of working from home more than the other people do. So really transit used to be all about, let's just focus on that commute and get people off the roads at peak hour. But that's really shifting because peak hours changed. I don't know if you know this now, but if there is no rush hour, it is all day and people get crazier towards noon and then they level off. There's more of them, but they're a little more sane towards 5. It's just a very different driving experience than it was 5 years ago. So that's other things that are driving people to want to take transit. It's not just, I need to get to my work and then come home. It's like, well, maybe I don't want to drive because I just don't want to drive. Or maybe it's a short trip, I don't own a car. Maybe I want to get to work, but I don't work a white collar job. We want to look at how we can make those things happen. So next slide, please. One of the things that we are working on right now is, so as I was just saying, transit's changing. So these big buses, the MARTA buses that you might think of, or if you're thinking, oh gosh, she's talking about transit, that's interesting for somebody else, then maybe there's some new things happening in transit that maybe you're not aware of that are really going to be exciting. It doesn't all have to look like the big old MARTA buses. It doesn't all have to be fixed route. It doesn't all have to be vans. We're seeing more flexible service with vehicles that are frankly cooler than, and that a lot more people will be willing to be seen in than previously.
We like cool.
Cool is good. It's not all these boxy, dorky vans. It's not like your mom's driving you around. It can feel kind of more like an Uber. So next slide, please. What we're trying to do right now is match up all these things that we see. Grocery store trips, trying to get people to the doctor, trying to get people who don't want to drive or can't drive to their pedicures, because that's still important. We want to look at all of those kind of trips. Yes, and Medicare won't pay for that.
Hold on, Audrey. Go ahead, Commissioner. She talked about pedicures. I knew you kind of got excited there.
Well, my manicure, my person comes to me, so I don't.
Well, maybe.
Wow.
Okay.
Doesn't come to me. So.
Wow.
So I wasn't excited, but I'm
Well, we'll get her on this shuttle then.
Okay. Next item, please.
No, I want to know more about this. I have a little notebook. You can give me a number. So we're looking at those kind of trips and also looking at different service areas. Like I said before, Newton's an interesting connection. Some of it is maybe getting people to MARTA. A lot of people always want to go to the airport. They always want to get to a train. All of these are different kind of trips, different kind of services, different lengths of trip. So we're trying to figure out how do we match that all up. And so as we're going forward, now that we're sort of seeing what's on the ground and we start to think about these matches, that's why we're coming out to talk to people right now, because this is where we want to hear about what people would use transit for, maybe help them understand what's out there that they didn't know about before, and really see about, what the needs are that they have, what would be the best thing we could do, what do we absolutely have to do. And that's why we're asking for people to come to us and tell us about some of those things. In a public meeting that's coming up, we have a survey, we have a website, and then my friend Chelsea's going to tell you all about all of that very soon as I stop talking, which is not quite yet. So one more slide, please. Thank you. One more slide. I made this slide twice, but the first time was better. All right. So microtransit, that is something we're seeing really succeed around the other counties that are sort of in your position. Cherokee's doing it, Gwinnett's doing it. It's literally feels like you're taking an Uber because you're using an app on your phone. It is very modern feeling. It doesn't have that, the transit uncool feel is sort of wiped away by a lot of that. What we do is we pool the trips to make them affordable and to make sure people are getting where they want to go. And in so doing, we make it so you don't have to wait for a long fixed route service to come by. You don't have to memorize a bus schedule. You just have to tell us when you want to go. And within usually about 30 minutes is the service area. It's not, it's not Uber. You're not paying Uber prices. You're paying us like between $2.50 and $5 to get where you want to go within a service area. So next slide, please. As you can imagine, this has been insanely popular where people are introducing it. In Valdosta, they started this up and they had no transit other than maybe something to get people to the doctor. Now they've got 500 people each day who want to use this service, and they can only get to 200 and 300 of them every day. They're trying to figure out how they can get more money. They're thinking about doing the kind of bus wraps that MARTA does to raise money, to get more money for their system. In Gainesville, Hall County, same thing. They had a local bus and a dial-a-ride. And dial-a-ride's like what you think your grandma using, you have to call up a day ahead and say, I need to go to the doctor. They replaced that and their local bus with this. And they went from having 500 people having a service account to 4,500 people being registered to use transit. So the reach of these programs, it's called microtransit because we use a smaller vehicle, but there's nothing small about the service. And then Snellville, which is up, not too far away from y'all, Gwinnett did a pilot there. It was incredibly successful. And as soon as they started it, they actually realized it was so great they extended the pilot for an extra month. And now that the pilot's been closed, they actually are buying vehicles, and as soon as those arrive, they'll start a permanent service up there to do that. I guess starting in August, that will be a permanent service that they offer to the people in their area. So all of these things are happening. All of these things might be interesting to people here. Maybe they hate this. We don't know. They'll probably tell me either way is what I know. So what I'd like to do is turn this over to Chelsea so she can tell you about how we're going to connect with y'all about getting the right thing here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Come on up, Chelsea.
Hi, good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you, Audra and
morning.
Rebecca, for that introduction. And Director Kelly, can't forget Director Kelly. You can go ahead and proceed to the next slide. I'll just be talking a little bit more about our public engagement and outreach, which Audra kind of gave you a sneak peek about. We're using a extensive toolkit, but amongst the ones that we've already started to put in action and want to really continue to push and move forward with, in an effort to, as it's represented here as these gears, one is moving the other. We know that this is a process where it's going to be new to people who are unfamiliar with transit, the different types of transit. Maybe they have preconceived notions of what transit is, and it's going to take a while to kind of get their buy-in. We understand that education is a big component of it, and informing the public, engaging with them is also key, and making sure that we are hitting all of those points. So our toolkit has included, building a project webpage, public meetings, which Audra mentioned and I'll expand more on in a second, employing a survey or polling to kind of get an idea of what it is that people, the general public and you yourselves want, what your visions are. Stakeholder interviews, which is probably, if I look familiar, I've had a few conversations with you all already, and I really appreciate, probably a lot of people in this room who've given their time for those interviews, and also starting to build partnerships with local organizations so that we can better reach people in communities that, maybe their source of information is a local YMCA. How do we get a link to the website, a survey on the board in the YMCA. So when they go in and they see this, they can stop and take a picture or visit the website later at their own leisure. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we've been doing a series of stakeholder interviews. This has included interviews with the three of you, as well as elected officials from the City of Conyers and the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority, also known as the ATL, as well as other stakeholders. We've talked to the Conyers and Rockdale Development Authority as well, because we realize there's an economic development component in this, and it's important to get all of those perspectives as well. The themes that we have seen throughout these interviews are, everyone, the key is safe and accessible, especially for all ages, but particularly seniors, ones who are, probably more transit dependent than most in the county, and especially zero vehicle households. And these, run the range of all ages, all different, coming from different backgrounds, different needs, who need to get to work, need to get to the grocery store, need to drop their kids off at school, have to go get a manicure and a pedicure, and would just want access to a vehicle to do so. And then, as also Audra mentioned, we see and we hear that there are a lot of connections that are being made to surrounding counties, for example, Newton County, in addition to the Metro Region core. We're also, and this is why, the conversation with the ATL is important, because we know money is a component in all of this. So we need to be, utilizing innovating funding strategies in this. And that's where those regional partners are important to be able to talk, figure out what the state of affairs is on a local, state, national level. And also the other thing that we're hearing coming out of these interviews is a desire to provide transportation alternatives that can alleviate congestion, especially at the A20 exit, as there's new GDOT construction, and we're seeing those patterns kind of change where there's congestion. That's something that has come up from almost everybody that they want addressed. Next slide, please. Another part of reaching the public is creating a project website, which will be sort of a landing page for everyone to find out what's happening next. What are our next touch points? Where will we be in the community? As well as, if you're unable to attend a meeting, can I see the PowerPoint deck that was shared at that meeting? We'll be posting it on our resources tab there. This is also definitely a place where we want to direct people to take the survey as well. It's hosted separately from the Rockdale County government website. However, we have been working with your PR representatives, individuals. They've been extremely helpful in also advertising this website on the webpage. Actually, following this meeting, that will be our official kind of launch of the redirect on the Rockdale County website, so that people can know that this website exists, access it, and more. Next slide, please. All right, and then the survey component, that's also a major part of our outreach, as far as getting to hear from the public what their needs exactly are. And part of this is utilizing online surveys, but we've also, that's a benefit of the stakeholder interview. I have talked to the Deputy Director for Senior Services, who said, maybe we're not going to be able to get a lot of senior citizens to to use a QR code or go to the internet and find this. We're willing to print out physical copies, scan them, add them to our database. We understand that we need to reach people in different, through different mediums. Part of the survey, the questions that we're asking, we're getting input for popular destinations, where people are trying to go, what are their priorities, and what's their current makeup of people who own a car, who don't own a car, who probably need to make those connections to Greta and so on. And yes, again, another opportunity for those who are unable to attend public meetings to provide their input. And we have a survey available in both English and Spanish. Next slide, please. So one of the public events that we're having is actually coming up next month, end of next month. And this is a public open house, which is kind of a flexible opportunity between the hours of 5 p.m. for 7 p.m. for people to enter, at their own pace. If they're just coming home from work and they need to make a stop and it's 6:30 p.m., please come in, stop for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, however long it takes, and be able to walk around. Be able to walk around. We'll probably have boards, the surveys again, a number of tangible materials for people to be able to take home, pass on to a friend, pass on to their friends at church and things like that, so that we can continue to circulate everything that's being discussed, and also again, pushing for getting input from as many people as possible in all corners of the county. And this is also an opportunity to talk to the transportation planners who are looking at a lot of the trends, as Audra mentioned, who are seeing those connections to Newton, those trips that are being made to places outside of Atlanta. That's an opportunity for them to ask those questions. And again, distributing surveys, and when you're not able to attend, you're definitely able to find, those resources on the project website. So just a reminder, it's March 21st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the JP Carr Community Center. All right, so this is, again, just kind of an appeal to everyone in this room, and it will be also an appeal to the public and as soon as this presentation is done and, we have this launch of everything, for people to connect with us. So we're encouraging everyone to take the online survey. We will be at the City of Conyers St. Patrick's Day event with a table, again, another opportunity to meet people, pass out surveys, or have surveys have maybe QR codes for people who want to pull it up on their own phone. And again, that helps if you're just it's St. Patrick's Day. I doubt you want to sit and stand and talk about transit.
Well, if you have some those little small miniature cups of green beer, that will attract a lot of folks to your booth. That is the one day a year that we really like. I'm talking about the little small cups of green beer. It's just got to be cold. It's got to be really, really. We like ice cold beer in this region, in this neck of the woods. But if you have a little small.
You're talking from experience.
Yeah.
Got it.
From experience.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't, just a cup, just a little small portion.
A shot.
Yeah, there it is.
A shot
I
of beer.
knew you would connect.
But yes, that'll be
Green Kool-Aid.
Green milk.
Not on St. Patty's Day.
Green milk.
But let me say this. I'm gonna allow you to finish here. But I pointed out. I made note, commissioners, very seriously, of 4 points of civic engagement that Chelsea has talked about, and it really is enlightening and encouraging that they will be actively a part of the St. Patty's Day event. I mean, that's a big deal here in Rockdale, but to be right there in the heart of all of it, number one, she talked about stakeholder interviews. Number two, surveys, community outreach. Number three, I really like what she said about the feedback she received from Deputy Director Susan Morgan over at our Senior Services Center to make sure we have printed copies for our senior citizens who may not be all that technologically inclined. And then, of course, on March the 21st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Voices for Rockdale, Voices of Rockdale, People of Rockdale, people from Conyers can go over to where? JP Carr. And share their insight and give feedback. Absolutely. I mean, that's a big deal, and that's the kind of engagement that we need and we're looking for. This is a big deal for Rockdale County. I've got a little bit more to talk about, but I want you to wrap up with where you are. This is really good.
Yeah, sure. And I'm almost at the end. And you just mentioned the public open house. Would love to see everyone come out. Please tell your friends, family, especially those who, are in those groups of maybe seniors who are transit dependent, zero vehicle households. And we hope that the community center is also a place where, it's not too hard for someone to be able to get there and be able to, join us for any time between those 5 to 7. And then finally, we have our website, rockdalecountytdp.com. Go to the next slide, please. And you guys get first dibs on actually seeing the website. This is an example of like one of those tools that are out there in our toolkit for, for someone who doesn't really have time to sit and talk to us right now. If you take out your cell phone right now and scan the QR, it'll direct you directly to the RockdaleCountyTDP.com, where you'll be able to take the survey, again, see the resources that are uploaded there, see announcements about the public open house, St. Patrick's event, and so much more. And we also have an email that's set up. This is also provided on the website where anyone can email there. We're able to disseminate it to the correct parties, whoever can answer a question that's coming from the public that's saying like, hey, what does, I want to know more about microtransit. I heard this word thrown out. So we're able to direct people using email to, people who can answer those questions. And finally, we want your ideas, and we want to know about opportunities in Rockdale or Conyers in communities where we can, connect the same way what we're trying to at the St. Patrick's Day event, for example. We're happy to come out and talk more about transit. And this is just more anecdotally, but you all offered such great perspectives, but I remember Commissioner Williams, especially your interview, one of the things that you said you were really passionate about is reaching previously incarcerated individuals who are coming out, readjusting to society and stuff like that, and that's an often overlooked perspective that people have, and that's stuck out to me. So if it means there are organizations or community centers in this that are reaching those people, we need to get there and connect with them. So that's things that, all right. So those are just a few examples. We heard great things from everyone, but I just really appreciate it and your time as well.
Chelsea, you and Audrey both, we thank you for your presentation this morning. This is a lot of information, and we know that we're moving in the right direction. So many of the metro counties that make up the Atlanta Regional Commission have already implemented and executed in the area of transit. I think it was Audrey that talked about the interest here in Rockdale is basically here in Rockdale. We do a lot of interacting with our friends and cousins down in Covington and Newton County, but that speaks volumes for the need. But this is going to give us a greater platform, commissioners, to really hear from the people, because no matter how much we may think is an exciting idea or we see it in other counties, the ridership is so important because this is a major investment, and we need to hear it. And there are multiple opportunities, as she's already stated, for the citizens, for the community, to give us feedback and tell us and participate in the surveys in terms of what they'd like to see and whether they really like to see this at all. The one thing I do like, and when I had an opportunity last week to meet with the Tri-County Chairman Baines out of Newton County and Chairwoman Hendrickson from Gwinnett County, she actually talked about the micro transit in Gwinnett County and the fact that it doesn't have to look like the big MARTA bus. It does feel like an Uber. There's multiple different cool kind of ways of doing it because people are in a whole different state of mind. So we've got a lot of options here. And the last piece that I picked up was that there are a number of residents who own automobiles. They own cars, but sometimes they don't want to drive. And if they have the option of getting in a van or a dollar ride or Uber type setup transit system, they would take it full advantage of. Some folks don't want to drive. Some folks just, they have a vehicle, they have it for when they want to use it, but if they have that option, this creates that option. I'd be interested to hear and see what the feedback is going to be from the citizens who engage in the surveys and give the feedback in terms of this whole program. Director Kelly, you done knocked the ball out the park this morning. Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate your time. This will help us get to St. Patty's Day and get those green shots happening because we can get you home now. So we thank you very much for your time.
Don't entice. Hold tight. I'm going to hear from the commissioners. Commissioner Washington, any feedback here?
First of all, this is excellent. Thank you all so much for all of you all's hard work. get round up, we're not doing round up?
Yes.
But I am very interested in a plan to get, I'm gonna say, like you said, the people that have transportation, like how are you gonna get people out of their nice, comfortable vehicles that, you got, it's comfortable, you pay a nice little car note and you're very attached to the brand or whatever, out of those vehicles and into a mindset of using transportation. So, and I think that's the sector that we need to really target, because that's the sector that's really complaining the most about transportation. And so you can't be both. You can't say I want to be the traffic and not want to do anything to curtail the traffic. Meaning that you can't say that you're tired of all this traffic, but you're the main one that every time you got to go across the street, you riding in your car across the street or to the grocery store or whatever. And I'm one of them. So we need to start rethinking what transportation means, especially to a certain population. And so what I would suggest is that we start going to the civic organizations that a lot of these people they're members of, the fraternities, sororities, the Kiwanis clubs, the Rotary, all of these people. I think that we need to have a direct engagement with these organizations, because those are the ones that I think is going to be a challenge changing their mindset about transportation. When you're needing transportation, it's easy to call, on an app. Even when you're out of town, you're going to use Uber or Lyft or whatever because you don't necessarily have the transportation. But when you're at home, your car or your cars, and you got kids with cars, and all of these transportation options are available, it's not as easy to say, oh, let me go and use this app so I can go, in my case, across the street to go to the grocery store. So, I just think that we should be very, very mindful of getting that, what I think is going to be the most resistant to transportation, getting their thoughts and getting their ideas on what it's going to take them to utilize things like microtransportation.
And Commissioner, you bring out several valid points, I just want to make mention again that this does create options. What we do understand that we won't have 100% ridership in the county. Folks who own cars will continue to drive their own cars. But this will create options, and particularly for those folks who have no form of transit at all, this will provide them an opportunity to utilize transit and get to some of those places that, because they don't have a vehicle or don't own a vehicle, they'll be able to go. What I was talking about at the tail end, it does create those options you talked about for those who own automobiles. There may be on a particular day or time of day or evening or afternoon, they may not want to drive their car, and they'll have this as an option. But I'm sure there's going to be folks still driving their own vehicles, but this gives them another outlet, another option, as I stated, moving forward. I do agree that the more places that we can promote this and get it out in different nonprofit organizations. The Commissioner made mention of Kiwanis and Rotary and some of those organizations throughout our community that will broadcast this message. I think that would be a great part of our public relations department, who already have very robust relationships with those entities throughout the community, to disseminate this information to them once we're at a point of launching. And I think we're here because the engagement from the stakeholders through the surveys, the fact that they're going to be at the St. Patty's Day event is a big deal. I mean, that's right there in the heart of everybody on a day-to-day basis. So you're right, it creates options, but we don't expect everybody to just park their vehicle and call on this option, but if they need it, it'll be there. And again, I'm so interested to hear, once you all do the surveys, what the people are saying, and number one, whether they really want it or not. Commissioner Williams.
So, I'm so excited about this. It's like, can we start next week? The first question I had at the top of my head at the very beginning was, how did Snellville fund the trial, or Gwinnett County fund that project that they did in Snellville?
Come on up, Sergeant.
I don't know everything about it, but I know it was a grant. So they got a grant to do a proof of concept, and then with that, then now they're funding it separately under, I think, county funds and some federal funds for transit.
Grant funds and supplemented county funds.
But I can
Okay.
get you a detailed answer, because I can call the person to do it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Growing up in California, I grew up like Rebecca in a small rural town. You know, California is not all big city. But when I was young, first married, I think, they started a dial-a-ride. And the population then was probably about 70,000. And it was very, very popular. And now, I don't know what it looks like today after the pandemic. Before the pandemic, they had buses and fixed routes, and the city itself is still only about 125,000, not much bigger than us. So I know there's a need out there. And that was the other thing I've been thinking about, is all the people I know personally who either don't have a car or don't, you know, or maybe the family has one car, or maybe the car is not always reliable. You know, I mean, I could sit here and just rattle off a whole lot of different scenarios where people would need this. I don't see that this is, I don't see people being opposed to this idea at all, because it's like it was said, we're not talking about buses driving down our, you know, down our streets. It's a lot more personal than that, but it provides options that we just don't have. And okay, those are my comments.
You know, the three of us, we could do one of these they could pick Commissioner Williams up, you up, and me up, and we can all come to the commissioner meetings together.
Really?
In a micro-transit.
I like that. I'm gonna take that note.
I walked today.
I'm just trying to, you know,
To be continued.
right, to show support.
Well, I think once it's in place, I think it's really important that we do use it.
Right.
Well, I think being an example,
find out how it
seriously,
works.
You're right, Commissioner. What Commissioner Washington is saying is leading the way and leading by example. I think it would be a good look when this thing finally is unveiled or rolls out. Certainly, the three of us need to get on the bus and participate in this to show folks how it works and be a prime example. What I was going to say as a closing comment, Director Kelly, is, and commissioners, the impact of one of the things that we talk about almost every week here is economic development.
Right.
When you think about the number of folks that we see on Highway 138 and West Avenue walking to work, whether they work in retail, or hospitality, restaurant, hotel, some of the young people who have to walk over to the library. There's a good number of young people that live in the Irwin Bridge area, and all of those families don't have vehicles. So in order for them to do research and get over to the local library, they literally have to walk, and that's a pretty good distance. This creates a safe option. So when you talk about economic development, there is some direct ROI, so to speak, in that area, because you get folks out of harm's way, off of the side of the road, out of the inclement weather. for that person who has to walk to work, they still have to walk to work on a rainy day, or on a cold day,
Right.
on an extremely hot day. So to have a vehicle that can provide a safe ride out of the elements, it really makes a big difference. So I agree with you, Commissioner Williams. I'd be highly surprised to see folks in huge opposition. This is just going to, not just economic development, but quality of life.
Right.
It's going to enhance the quality of life in the community as a whole. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to see again about the feedback and really hear from what other folks have to say about it, and looking forward to, and I'm going to find you on March the 17th over at on St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to find you over there and look for you, Chelsea, absolutely. I know you'll have on something green, so I'll be looking for you over there. Director Kelly, what say you?
We look forward to it and looking forward to bringing this to you. We are very, very, very pleased to be a partner here. So.
Director Kelly and his staff has been working diligently on this project. Let's give them a round of applause. So again, thank you to our partners from ATL, from ARC, and of course out of our own RDOT department for this. Commissioners, time to move forward. Item number 4 on the agenda this morning is the approval of the agenda. What's your pleasure?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from January 24th, 2023 and February 21st of 2023. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve these minutes as presented.
I second the motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, there's no unfinished business today. We're moving right on, Executive Director Rutledge, to our consent agenda. Commissioners?
I move to approve the items on the consent agenda as listed.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're down to item number 8, back to the regular agenda. And the first item there, Executive Director Rutledge, is 2023-86.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 86 is a future land use case 2023-01, an ordinance to amend the future land use map of Rockdale County's comprehensive plan as amended, so as to redesignate property located at 163 and 169 Abbott Road from mixed-use employment center and medium-density residential category to high-density residential, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and to refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 87 is a rezoning case 2023-03, an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 163 and 169 Abbott Road Southwest from R1 Single Family Residential to MRU Mixed Use Residential, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
So I move to approve the first read and refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Item 88 is a rezoning case 2023-04, an ordinance to amend the official zoning district map of Rockdale County as amended by rezoning 2405 Southeast Salem Road from O&I Office Institutional to SRC-NC Salem Road Corridor Neighborhood Commercial, to impose conditions upon the property, to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This is submitted for a first reading.
I move to approve the first reading and to refer this ordinance to the Planning Commission as presented.
I second the motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, Executive Director Rutledge, it looks like we're down to public comment.
We are. I have not received any red cards this morning.
We'll give them a few moments to any red cards, any public comment. We're down to public comment, ladies and gentlemen. Any public comment? Going once, going twice. Next item, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Board comment. We'll start with Commissioner Sherry Washington.
Oh, wow, my whole name. My first thing is I would like to commend the ladies. I don't see Director Mims here, but Showtime Pros had a debutante's ball this weekend, and I didn't get to attend, but I know several of the debutantes and the parents of the debutantes, and I saw all the great pictures, and it looked like such a great thing to have for the young ladies of this area. When I was in high school, I was a debutante, and we, believe it or not, that's where we learned etiquette and social graces and just things to be presented to society. The waltz, it was a great time. My grandfather actually presented me to society, so it was a good time to spend with him. We had father-daughter outings and things like that. So I know that it was a special time for the debutantes, and it was a great thing for the county. So I wanted to commend Director Mims because she was one of the, I guess, the curators of the event. But she's not here, so somebody will tell her that I did that. On last week, we also had a visit from the Minister of Tourism and other ministers from Belize, and they came. We have a few small business owners that are Belizean here in Rockdale County, and we had a group of dignitaries to come and look at, just view Rockdale County and visit. So I wanted to say what a great honor it was to present a proclamation honoring the Belize delegation and proclaiming the 25th of February as Belize Day. It was a great opportunity for international delegation to come and be in our county and see all of the things that Rockdale County has to offer. So that was a great day. Of course, Congressman Hank Johnson was here also last week to officially award us the $300,000 grant from the federal government and for our workforce development program. I want to once again publicly thank you all for the support in matching that grant. And so that's at least $600,000 for the workforce development program, plus the school board has contributed to CRETC by way of funding half of our workforce development director's salary for the next 2 years. So I just think that we're off to a great start. I have some ideas of things that we want to do next, definitely a reentry program. So those are things that we're working on there. But like I said, I wanted to once again publicly thank you all for the continued support from this board for CRETC and the workforce development program. Let's see. Black History Month. I didn't have, last week, my phone was not doing the things I wanted it to, so I wanted to do my couple of Black History facts. So I wanted, my first one was James Hemings. He was the first American to train as a chef in France. He was a mulatto born in Virginia, and he, at the age of 8 years old, he was enslaved by Thomas Jefferson. He's the older brother of Sally Hemings and half-siblings of Jefferson's wife, Martha Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, was an ambassador, a minister to France. He brought Hemings over to France with him, and he learned how to cook or become a master chef in France. But the thing that is so great about one of his, he is credited with inventing macaroni and cheese. so I just thought that, our Black History fact, because, you can't mess with with macaroni
I thought my
and
mama
cheese.
invented mac and cheese. All these years, I thought my mama invented mac and
So
cheese.
and it's such a special,
You don't know how you just broke my heart.
it's such a special thing in the African American community. You don't mess with mac and cheese. You only eat certain people's macaroni and cheese. You got to have, like, the designated people can only bring the macaroni and cheese to anything. So now we know why, because it was invented by an African American chef in the 1700s. So I just thought that we all needed to know that for
culinary purposes.
that's for life purposes. Now we know why. I have one more, and I have to find where's my.
Well, Commissioner, while you're looking for that, did you bring any samples today?
So that's the thing. You can't just bring macaroni and cheese for sampling. Somebody has to vouch for your macaroni and cheese. So I would have to make some for the chairman, and he would have to vouch that I made good macaroni, and there's a whole thing with macaroni.
The chairman
and cheese.
would be a tough judge, though.
He's right.
There's
He's
not
a cook, so that would be a tough one.
You just cannot. You just cannot play with macaroni and cheese. We're gonna leave it there, and we'll start again with Women's History Month next month.
Commissioner Williams.
So I grew up loving macaroni and cheese.
And now you know why.
I just had a couple of things. One, I did want to mention the gathering last week at the chamber with the Conyers Rockdale Economic Development Council and Congressman Hank Johnson, who was there, and Kevin Hanna, who's the director of CRUDC, and Commissioner Washington, who has been a vital force in this workforce development. It was, it was just a really, an event where you go, things are really moving here in Rockdale, and we have the attention of our national leaders. And so I thank you so much for your work with CRUDC.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention.
She's pulling out macaroni and cheese.
No, but I do make a good one, but it's different because it's got lots of stuff in it. Because when my son-in-law, who's Jamaican, he said, "What are we having for dinner?" I said, "Macaroni and cheese." He goes, "Okay, I'm going to Publix." When he got back and I'd finished, he goes, "Well, you didn't tell me it had all that good stuff in it." I said, "Well, you didn't ask." But
I said, somebody has to vouch for macaroni and cheese.
Well, I think he'll vouch for me now.
All right.
So this morning, and I don't know that I can pull it up immediately, but there was an email that went out to us and to the school board about zoning issues and schools and that kind of thing. And I wanted to thank Dr. Oates for his very detailed response this morning about the fact that we have school capacity for over 19,000, and we have student population of about 15,500 or so. He also explained in really good detail people keep quoting these numbers of Rockdale schools or failing schools or D schools. And he emphasized that that letter designation what has been abandoned for years, that what people are picking up is from 2019. and that is no longer how schools are being graded, so to speak, or you know, how their effectiveness is being looked at. And he gave a lot of different statistics on the number of our students who are AP honors students, who have been accepted into Ivy League schools, those who are receiving full scholarships, those, you know, those that are national scholars have been recognized. All those numbers are going up. We exceed the state in almost every single area, including our graduation rates here. And that's a combination of all three of the high schools. So anybody who was not on that email list and would like a copy of that email, if you'll just email me, I will forward it to you. Because I have seen such wonderful work going on in our schools, and we know that the right message needs to get out, especially for economic development. People need to know what really good things are going on here in Rockdale County. So like I said, if you didn't get a copy of that and would like a copy, just email me and I will forward it on. So besides macaroni and cheese, I was thinking about Black History Month this morning, and I thought it became very personal in my thinking that my life has been truly, truly enriched by all of those who have contributed to the Black history in Rockdale County, who have become my friends. I went to a high school that there was one Black student, and he was a foreign exchange student from Africa. There was a fairly large Hispanic population, but I had never gone to school with anybody that was of African American descent. And but my mom and dad were avid watchers of the news, avid admirers of Martin Luther King, and kept us abreast of what was happening in the South. We now know this was not just a South issue. It happened everywhere across the United States. But I think I just wanted to say how much my life has been enriched. And I appreciate that.
Very good. Good. Well, thank you, Commissioner. So a couple of things I want to, I think I want to piggyback on one thing, and I really appreciate Commissioner Williams highlighting the email response coming from Dr. Terry Oates, our superintendent of public schools here. And I have to say that Executive Director Rutledge, I forwarded it to you. Dr. Oates did an outstanding job responding to the citizen. Oftentimes people focus on all of the negative. They forget about the academic excellence that's happening and taking place in all of our Rockdale County schools day in and day out. So many young people who are achieving and accomplishing so many wonderful things from an academic excellence level that is often overlooked. Yes, we have schools with children, so every now and then, guess what? There's an argument. There may be even a fight. But because everyone has become photojournalists now with their cell phones, and it sensationalizes before the local television news can get the story's all over Facebook and Instagram and all those other media outlets. But the truth of it is, not only do we have fine young people who are doing a fine job, we have excellent educators in Rockdale County who are doing a great job. And when I say educators, let me tell you what group I'm including. Our school bus drivers, our lunchroom ladies, our custodians, because in so many ways, guess what they are? They're educators. And the school crossing guards, making sure that our young people are getting across the street. Now, is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. But I never understand that small group of people who wake up every day looking, searching, seeking for something negative to talk about what's not happening right in the city of Conyers, Rockdale County, the public school system, or down at the Walmart. Yes, we have a vehicle where you can communicate. You can come into the board meeting. You can go over to the city council meeting, the first and third Wednesday of every month. You can go over to the monthly school board meeting at the school. And now they're broadcasting, I think, they're broadcasting their school board meeting so people can see. I say to all of our employees that work here in Rockdale County that comes under the BOC, let's focus more on can, C-A-N, than we do on can't. Let's focus on the positive than we do on the negative. We're making a big deal whenever a citizen sends in what I like to call, Dr. Walker, a praise report of one of the good things or some of the good work that our employees are doing. We just received a very detailed praise report about our water department and customer service. Stand up, Director Peak. I want everybody to see him. Give him a round of applause. Absolutely. It's incumbent upon us, commissioners, to highlight the good work that so many of our employees are doing. And I want to go back to what I was starting off by piggybacking on. I want to give Dr. Terry Oates a round of applause and the members of the Rockdale County Board of Education. Because oftentimes people forget what we are doing right. Being in the people business is not an easy job. It can be both rewarding and challenging all at the same time. Because the people who love you at 8 o'clock will hate the hell out you at 8:30. And that's Chairman Nesbitt keeping it real, only in Rockdale County. We serve this community because we love this community. Most of our employees who work here, even the ones that don't live and reside in Rockdale, they stayed with us through the pandemic, even through what is called, Director Holmes, the Great Resignation, when they could have gone other places elsewhere to make more money. They stuck and stayed in Rockdale County. Our law enforcement, our fire department, 911, Parks and Rec, all of the code enforcement, those folks had opportunities to go other places and make more money than they're making in Rockdale County. But they just decided to stay here because they enjoy working here and they appreciate the environment that we have. So whether or not you're talking about the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners or the mayor's office in the city of Conyers, or perhaps the Rockdale County public school system, guess what? None of us are perfect. Jesus is not the chairman of the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners. Oz Nesbitt is. Jesus is not the school board superintendent of Rockdale County school system. Dr. Terry Oates is. And by the way, Jesus ain't the mayor of the city of Conyers. A good friend of mine by the name of Vince Evans is the mayor. So if you're looking for perfection, there's another place, there's another destination you need to be trying to get to. It's not here. I just wanted to clear the air because I really read, in fact, I read that email twice.
I did too.
And I really appreciate Dr. Oates and how he articulated his response and broke it down. And then his last sentence said, with all due respect, I'm going to ask that you try hard to focus on the positive academic excellent achievement of our young people and the dedication of our educators in this community. That's what we're talking about. Are we not doing one thing right in Rockdale County? All of the naysayers, I know you're ticked off. I know I'm just ticking you off. Like they said in the old Baptist church, ain't nobody mad but the devil. But can you wake up just one morning this year in 2023 and say one good thing about what we're doing right in Rockdale County? Our employees would appreciate it. We would love to hear it every now and then. yes, continue to fill out the comment card and submit your needs improvement comment to us, and we're going to adhere to it. But let's talk about the positive things. Now, as I wrap this part up, let me just say this. Rockdale County is progressively moving forward. There are a ton of very good things that are happening in our community. When I have the opportunity to meet with other members of the metro region, other chairmen, other commissioners in other counties, and even other mayors and municipalities, I sit and I listen to how well Rockdale County is really doing things and making a mark in the region. When I compare and contrast with some of the things that are happening in other places, we're still doing. Number one, let me give hats off to Sheriff Levitt and Chief Scott Freeman over the city of Conyers, because Rockdale County is still very much among one of the safest, if not the safest county in the metro region. The sheriff's office may not be doing everything right. The city police may not be doing everything right, but we're not that community. We're not those communities that you see night after night, day after day, news report after news report of always something. Yes, as I've said it before, every now and then a little something does happen. Why? We have people that live here. So thank God for the sheriff's office and the police department and the fire department. But we're not that community. So I think it's important that we appreciate what we do have going on that's very positive. As I wrap this up, I will say thank you to the citizens last week. We had two very robust meetings last week. Our planning commission was well attended. So was the public hearing regarding some of the development in Rockdale County. And we want to say thank you to those citizens who thought it not robbery to come out and express their input and give us feedback on what they think the trajectory of this community should look like going forward. We want to hear from you. And to the folks over in the Weatherstone community, my phone yielded well over 120 text messages. And to the fine folks that live out in the Honey Creek area, we heard you very loud and very clear. It's going through the process. We're going to let the process play out, and we'll be back to you on the 14th, is that correct? On the 14th of March, and we will be rendering a vote from this board in terms of making a decision. But the Citizens Commissioners did a great job. They came out, they expressed what they thought, and we continue to, and that's what was happening this morning with Audrey and Chelsea with this whole transit plan. Ms. Chester, we continue to educate and inform our citizenry about how these things work and what it means to this county, and to give them an opportunity to participate in a survey and give us feedback and talk to our stakeholders. So I'm excited. I want to say thank you to both Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams. This administration has done some hand to the plow work to move this community forward. When I think about from when we started in 2017 and look at several things that we've done, basically I call it a progress report. We've made a lot of progress, and we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of us. And yes, for the naysayers, we know we've got still some room for improvement, but I want to focus on the positive work that we've done and the dedication of our staff and our employees. We are who we are because of the wonderful staff and set of employees. Let's give our employees a wonderful round of applause. Now, we've got two versions of our State of the County address that's coming up on March the 30th. That's right, we've got a morning version that will cater to our business and corporate community at 7:30 out at Costly Mill Park. And we're bringing back our community version of our State of the County address that same evening at 6 p.m. next door in the Rockdale Auditorium. We're encouraging all of our citizens, if you really want to know where we are and where we're going and talking about the vision, the future, and reimagining Rockdale, the trajectory of this community, we encourage you to come out early, get your seat. We're anticipating a packed house that night, but we're going to be really excited as we deliver the State of the County address on Thursday, March the 30th. I want to call up a department that seldom do I call up commissioners. And one of the things we say in our director meetings to all of our directors, be ready, because you just never know when the chairman or one of the commissioners is going to call you up. So Director Hammer, come on up. He's with General Services. Come on up, Director Hammer, and give us an update on all the work. I saw two of your fine employees in the parking lot as I shook their hands this morning, because Commissioner Washington, people think we have about 50 people in the General Services Department. I want you to clear that up this morning and tell them how many employees you have, but I want you to give us an update on some of the projects that you're working on. Director Hammer.
Well, the total in the entire General Services Department, I think, is 40. So we're coming close to that. I think two of our biggest projects right now, we're moving the planning and development and the administrative, all their administrative offices, planning and development, stormwater into West Ave in preparation for the exciting challenges that we're going to have downtown. And I think that is the other good news is we're finalizing our selections for a program manager for the judicial and administrative task, the complex that we're going to do. So that's going to be fantastic movement, but it's a lot of moving pieces. We're going to have infrastructure, underground utilities, we're going to have buildings and property. There's going to be a lot that's going to happen in downtown. So we're excited about that. So
Director, while you're there, tell us the impact it's going to have by removing Director Simpkins and stormwater out of the 958 location over to West Avenue. What will that do for us in terms of what's happening with the current structure?
Well, it'll certainly lower the style level at the admin building. We can't compete with that, unfortunately. My old rags, you know.
You're right, because everybody in the water department look and dress just like Director Simpkins.
Yes, I used to pick on Director Redmond when he first came, and I realized I was the one that was lowering the bar, so I had to step it up a little bit. The best thing about that is it's going to give them facilities that they can work on safely. The facility over at the admin building has some structural deficiencies that everybody's seen. The posts that are over there, so certainly give them an environment that they're comfortable and safe in. The admin building, that area is also the basement portion of the old First Baptist Church. So it's very old. It was used for Sunday school classrooms, I think. I think somebody might have attended there ages ago. So it'll give them brand new facilities. We have some shared conference room space, and we also have facilities where the planning staff and the stormwater staff has a plan review room that a lot of other counties have as well, that you can bring people in and they can have plan review meetings where you don't have to go from space to space and department to department. It's more customer service friendly. So they sit there and our staff comes in and out for pre-cons and things like that.
Very good, very good. Well, Director, thank you, and thank you for the fine work that you and your team are doing in general services and the clarification on the number of employees. We know that you all keep us looking good from a structural standpoint and a cleanliness standpoint with all of our facilities, including the courthouse and the admin building. So thank you to you and your team for the fine work you do. Let's give Director Hammer a round of applause. Paying attention to the clock and monitoring our time this morning. We have time for two more directors, those folks that you don't hear from too much, but every now and then. Director Dan Morgan, come on up and tell us what's happening with EMA, both internally and externally. You're never a loss for words.
Okay, well, thank you. And with EMA, which also encompasses risk management, 911, and animal services, we are excited, still moving forward at the animal shelter, the animal services building, with finalizing some of those upgrades that were made. I will tell you that we are approaching capacity, so if you have any inkling that you want to come get a puppy or an adult dog, please make an appointment. We would love to talk to you. With that being said, we have somebody?
Andre to get a dog.
Okay. That's one down. Who else? Oh, no. Okay. With that in mind, we will be having numerous adoption events coming up over the spring. One of our big ones is at actually the Cherry Blossom Festival. We'll have 6 to 8 dogs there, and if we adopt them all out, we'll go back and get another load for Sunday. So it's always been a very successful thing. I appreciate the support from the community on that. We are very fortunate between our rescue groups and our adoptions that we are able to keep right below capacity, knock on wood that we have that. In the 911, we are got our last group of trainees that are in the room and actually actively on the phones and the radios. We do not have an active class right now. So good. I won't say we're fully staffed because that's bad luck, but yes, we do not have an active recruit class right now. We're still taking applications for future, but we are very excited about all the work that facilities and general services are doing to get the new 911 building on schedule and up and running. We're still looking at that, but the operators and the vibe in the room is very high. They're excited about that, and so we're looking to expand and make some great changes here in the coming months on that.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Director Dan Morgan, EMA and 911. Give them a round of applause. Last but certainly not least, we don't get to hear from this young lady that often. She does some phenomenal work behind the scenes. Dr. Walker, would you let Miss Lisa Chester out as she makes her way to the podium? She is our Chief Strategy Officer, and we've been talking about commissioners, and Commissioner Washington really came up with this term, reimagine Rockdale. Ms. Chester, tell us what's going on in your world with the strategic plan and this whole reimagine Rock. And she mighty sharp this morning, too. Give her a round of applause. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. You've been to the Jameson School of Fashion and Design.
I always try to be ready, but thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Commissioners, and all my colleagues here, Rockdale County. So a few updates, really excited. One, for those who may not know, that I've transitioned into the Chief Strategy Officer role in October of last year, and since then I've had an opportunity to be a part of the Infrastructure Planning Task Force, which is led by Director Moore Jackson, and in that we've been able to hear from a lot of the citizens and also the department directors, which has been very, very helpful in terms of reimagining Rockdale for the future. So really learning about what where our infrastructure is today, some of the work that has already been done, and some future plans. In addition to that, also really excited to report that in about 2 hours, we're actually going to start the interviews for consulting firms to help develop the next strategic plan for the county. So that will be a 5-year plan.
Yes, yes. That's a big undertaking.
Yes, it is. So we're really excited about that, and I'll have an update for you all probably within the next week with regard to the firm that we've selected and the schedule of events and how we will be engaging the members of the community to hear from them, to really get surveys out, really being really creative about the future of Rockdale County.
Well, Ms. Chester, thank you, and again, congratulations on your promotion to this role. When talking with the commissioners and the executive leadership staff, they highly recommended you because of the fine work that you were already doing. But now this really puts you in the centerplex of your wheelhouse. And what we've been seeing you do in terms of working with other stakeholders in our community. But the key thing that I like about Ms. Chester, she's been listening to the citizens. She was really engaged with Director Moore Jackson with the Infrastructure Planning Task Force, really trying to hear from the citizens. The other thing is she has Commissioner Washington embrace the theme, Reimagine Rockdale. And this time it's going to be such a greater undertaking because we've heard so much from citizens since 2017, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So this won't be a 6 month or 9 months project. This project is going to go well over 18, maybe 24 months to really come out with a finished product that, number one, not the board, but the citizens will be proud of. So that's a big, big deal. There's so many different opportunities for engagement, for people to come out in the days ahead as she's planning. But we really wanted to bring you up this morning and get the good news. So glad that you're moving forward and progressing forward with the selection of whichever firm that's going to end up representing us and making sure that we optimize on every opportunity in our community. Thank you. Give Lisa Chester another round of applause. Yeah. Now, this is February the 28th. I said it when I came in. This is the last day of Black History Month. Right before we pull up the video honoring the Black church, because the Public Relations Department has done such a fantastic job with this presentation. You know, we aired this originally last year, but we decided to show it again this year. But before we do that, I heard from Commissioner Washington about Mr. Hemmings and the mac and cheese. And I heard from Commissioner Williams on the impact that the African American community has had on her and her family growing up. I just want to share that one of the highlights for me when I think about the African American community, number one, my favorite poet has always been Langston Hughes. And he has multiple poems, but his poem, Mother to Son, is my favorite one. But when I think about the multiple contributions of African American and Black folks throughout time, I have to think about the music. I'm a fan of old school music, and y'all know I'm from Augusta, the home of the Godfather, the late Godfather of soul, James Brown. But I love good old African. I think about the Temptations, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight. I think about Smokey Robinson, and I think about Al Green, and all of those folks. They're old school music, because there's still words that I can sing and say and sing along with the song, and I keep up with it. But one of the reasons, Director Redmond, that I really feel good about good old school music, because it really reminds me of my parents, particularly of my mother. When we were young boys on Saturday mornings, between watching the cartoons and going out to play, we had chores we had to do. And I could hear my mother playing that music while we were cleaning house and doing whatever need to be doing. And on any given day during the week, because back in the 70s and 80s, you know, there was a full meal every day. So she cooked everything, and I could hear Marvin Gaye in the background, or Barry White, or the Spinners, or the Manhattans, or some of those, the Isley Brothers. Y'all know old school music, don't you? Right. Y'all do remember Luther Vandross, right? Okay, I mean, you're looking at me like you just...
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right. So that's my little 2 cents. That's my little 2 cents about the contribution of African American. I really like the music. There's so much to be said in terms of all the wonderful things that African American people have done to contribute. Black history is American history. There's no other way to, it is what it is. And, but play the video, honoring the Black church. This is where it all started, right here.
God has really showed up these first 2 nights. The chairman had a vision that he wanted to honor the Black church and allow people to experience and learn more about the Black church. And each night it has built and built. Last night was amazing.
It's given us an opportunity to understand our heritage, to know where the Black church, where it's come from, where it is, and where it's going.
This whole week has been a blessing to be able to participate in the celebration of the Black church here in Rockdale County.
We had a wonderful time on the first night, and we had a wonderful time on this last night. So we appreciate Rockdale County providing this opportunity for the community. So it was awesome.
church experience. And I tell you, it was phenomenal from night 1 to night 3. And I tell you, if you were not here, you missed the truth.
Tonight was inspirational, moving, just a powerful message tonight. Great to see the community come together. This is a wonderful experience, all in all.
Hey, I'm Pastor Thomas Cody here, new to the Conyers area. I was so excited to be here at Youth Night as we honor the Black Church. It was absolutely amazing. I preached the message entitled Shaking My Head.
Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them kept telling these things to the apostles. But the apostles did not believe a word of it. They thought that they were making it all up.
When a man understands the importance of prayer and the power of prayer, everybody in the house gets it. When the man, oh my goodness, I'm just excited to see these brothers in here tonight.
I tell you, the music ministry, the voices from the pastors, the teaching from the preachers, just everybody being in concert throughout this whole event. This was a dream come true to really bring and allow the African American community, particularly here in Rockdale County, to celebrate its own history and its heritage through the contributions of the Black church. The Black church, as I said it so many times, is the epic center of the Black community and has served so many years as the foundation of faith for all of those throughout the Black community. This has been a wonderful week of celebration and a wonderful week of praise and worship. Commissioners, we try as often as we can, and again, we have some excellent talent on our staff, our public relations department. Let's give them another round of applause. We try through public relations and through our parks and recreation to make sure that we bring a level of arts and culture and make sure that we're connecting with the people in our community on many different levels. We don't try to compare ourselves with the big city of Atlanta or some of the other surrounding counties. We are who we are. We don't want to be any of those other places. We want to be who we are, Rockdale County. And in doing so, we make sure we have to connect with the interests of the people. And that's why citizen engagement is so important, so that we can hear from the folks as we prepare for our upcoming summer concert series and many other events and activities that tend to bring the community together. The city is basically the host of the upcoming St. Patrick's Day Parade, but you'll see folks from all across Rockdale County, members from the county and citizens from all over this community engaging in the upcoming St. Patrick's Day Parade and activities. So we try to bring to our citizenry more and more things and events and activities that people want to hear from an arts and culture and entertainment level. Now, commissioners, I'm sure y'all get the calls and texts like I do folks asking about some of the bigger name artists and some of the bigger A-list, what have you. Well, I met with Director Redmond a couple of months ago, and we had a conversation about that. And he educated me. He said, well, now, Chairman, a couple of things. We really don't have a venue in Rockdale for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And if we did have a venue for Earth, Wind, and Fire, do you know how much that's going to cost? So I said, okay, you got my attention, and start going down a list of other. I went from the A-list artists to some of the B-list artists and some of the local B-list artists that are residing here in the Metro Atlanta area. There's ways to do things through sponsorships and partnerships, and he's exploring all of those options. But however, our citizens have to know we need to hear from more of the citizens who want to see more of those types of things as it relate to arts, culture, and entertainment. Because there is a cost factor involved. You have to pay for the band, the artists, and the logistics and all of doing that. And then, of course, we have to have space and venues that can hold it. We have a couple of areas in the community and the county that can entertain some large events, but we have to be very particular about how we do that and the planning of it. But I really give a big hats off to public relations and our Parks and Recreation Department, who do a very good job with making sure that we're bringing in through Parks and Recreation the kind of programming and activities that people want to see. And public relations is really doing everything it can to get the word out. There's no central, this is what we hear in all these community meetings, there's no centralized place for communication coming out of Rockdale County. So we're the only, for the longest time, been the only government access channel there is in this community. The school board just now started broadcasting their school board meetings. So Channel 23 and your Facebook and Instagram and some of those other media outlets, you can, our website, you can find the information if you're interested. So we've got a lot of good things going on. I'm excited about the direction in which we're moving in, and we encourage folks to stay tuned, and we encourage our citizens to get involved and stay involved and be a part of the progress of moving Rockdale County forward. Executive Director Rutledge, hold on, let me do that. Chief Sanders, is there any updates regarding anything from your office that we need to be aware of that perhaps I'm overlooking?
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. So everyone is working hard, but we do have in March, we are working right now on the War on Litter. So that is coming up on Friday, March 23rd. So
Very
you'll see
good.
more about that.
Very good. And that's a joint project, again, between the county and the city. Is that correct?
Yes, we're working with them on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think I quoted 24th.
March the 24th. Yes. Okay, so War on Litter, you know we make a big deal about folks littering and putting debris and trash on our community, in our communities here in Rockdale County. So we're excited about the work that code enforcement and our community improvement team are constantly doing to keep Rockdale County clean. And as you provoke thought in my mind, I'm always going to say to those violators out there, I hope you get caught. Yes, I hope the police get you. I sure do, because you throwing stuff out the car and the trash all over the place, and it invites the wrong element into our community, and it drives our property values down. So for all those folks who want to be photojournalists, we got a job for you. Take out your cell phone and catch that joker in the act. Absolutely. Don't get me started. We want to keep Conyers and Rockdale clean and beautiful. March the 24th is the day that the city and the county will be joint enforcement. We do this twice a year on a grand scale, but all through the year, Mr. Andre, the war on litter is going on every day. But we get to pick out 2 days, one in the spring and one in the fall, that we put all hands on deck, Commissioner, to go out into the community. So March the 24th, and Voices for Rockdale, if you all are interested and blue t-shirting up with a yellow vest on and a pickup stick, we would love to have you all out there joining forces with us. We'll give you the safety training that morning when we do our early morning huddle, and we'll throw on a yellow vest or orange vest on you. You can still wear your blue t-shirt, but you got to put that safety vest on top of it. Yes, that's for the wall litter. Executive Director Rutledge, is there any need for executive session this morning?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy Tuesday, a great end to February. It's Black History Month. Be safe and see you in the days ahead. This meeting is adjourned.
Your chair is